You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Most writers and radio show hosts know that to connect with your fans, you need to do more than just write books or record the latest podcasts. There are many different elements that go into forming an online platform, but there are also many hidden traps. To make matters worse, solid advice on how to survive the muddy waters is scarce. In the book Hidden Traps, I talk about some of the important issues of working with an online platform, highlighting traps that could put your physical or internet security at risk or be harmful to your reputation. Are your social media posts just links with a few disjointed words, making you look like someone who can't complete a sentence? Did your new website cost you more than you anticipated? Are you leaking your personal contact details across the web without even knowing it? Then you need Hidden Traps. Hidden Traps is now available in paperback and ebook from a variety of retailers, including Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Kobo. Visit blackwolfpublications.com for more details.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-553-8687. That's 800-553-8687. Again, 800-553-8687. 687.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
Everyone loves liberty. Our rights come from God, not the government. So why are you letting other people tell you what's best for your healthcare? Exercise your freedom with Liberty Health Share. Liberty Health Share is a community of people who voluntarily share one another's medical costs. Liberty Health Share is founded on the idea that most people truly want to help one another. Healthcare sharing allows members to do just that as a true community that supports one another in times of need. Liberty believes people should make decisions for themselves and their families. Members are able to take back the freedom to make their own decisions about their healthcare. Freedom from guilt or doubt about how your money is used. You have the freedom to direct your health care, not to be dictated to by bureaucrats. Stop letting others tell you what to do and join a community of like-minded people. Exercise your freedom. Join Liberty Health Share and take back the control of your health care while helping those around you. Call Liberty at 855-58-LIBERTY. Again, that's 855-58-LIBERTY for more information, or you can check them out at libertyhealthshare.org. Again, that's libertyhealthshare.org.
Here's George Foreman with InventHelp.
Hi, I'm George Foreman. Do you have an idea for a new product or invention? People ask me all the time, George, how do I get my idea in front of companies? How do I get a patent? What do I do next? Do you have the same questions? I'll tell you like I'll tell them all. Call my friends at InventHelp.
Call InventHelp today for free information. InventHelp has been helping inventors for more than 30 years and has sales offices nationwide. InventHelp can submit your invention to companies who are interested in receiving new ideas. If you have an idea and want to try to patent it and submit it to companies, you should call InventHelp today for free information.
Listen, I can't guarantee a company will be interested in your idea, but I believe every inventor deserves the opportunity to step into the ring and take their best shot. Put InventHelp in your corner.
To get your free inventor's information, call 1-800-353-6490. That's 1-800-353-6490. Again, 1-800-353-6490.
At St. Jude, a family never sees a bill at all. It's like the world has been lifted off of your shoulders.
St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
Sometimes riders feel lost, unsure why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing into full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, offering manuscript critiques and line edits through a mentoring editorial style. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services, visit blackwolfeditorial.com.
You're listening to the Lanterns Radio Network. We are the network dedicated to empowering the individual, illuminating the truth, defending American exceptionalism, and inspiring future generations. Stay connected and get involved at
Unauthorized access attempt detected. Tracking user via darknet algorithm. Isolating IP address. Targeting response teams.
Greetings, operative. Your KLRN override has been approved. Please stand by.
Lanterns authorization code accepted. Logging in. Your access to the HoloNet has been approved. Please stand by.
Incoming transmission.
Listening to the HoloNet podcast on the Lanterns Media Network. The new conservative resistance begins right here, right now.
Allied reinforcements have arrived from the west.
You're listening to the HoloNet on Lanterns Media Network. The millennial conservative resistance begins here.
Oh yes indeed, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, the new millennial conservative resistance does indeed begin right here, right now with you. You are listening to the HoloNet podcast on the Lanterns Media Network, now proudly syndicated on KLRN Radio. Welcome to our new HoloNet operatives at KLRN Radio. You've joined us just in time. Why have you joined us just in time? Because, oh yes, I have it in my hands right now. I have it in all of its salty sweetness. It's so nice. It's so wonderful. This is the Green New Deal. Pulled this down directly off of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's website. I'm glad I got it before they pulled it. This is the actual House resolution recognizing the duty of the federal government to create a Green New Deal. Right here we have it. Now, this was pulled down, also pulled down, where we'll have link in the description. Thank you to webarchive.org. Somebody was able to snag it and archive it. The Green New Deal FAQ, which has been soundly and roundly lampooned by the internet community, as it should be, for the farcical piece of nonsense that it is. And we have it here. We're going to go over that today during the HoloNet podcast here on the Lanterns Media Network and KLRN. Also, we have a bit more news to get into. According to the New Times, one of the leftist rags here in the Greater Valley of the Sun, Ben Shapiro will speak at Grand Canyon University after all. One day after Ben Shapiro turned down an invitation by Grand Canyon University to speak, the school announced he would give the talk after all on April 10th. Shapiro had initially said he would not speak at GCU unless the school agreed to host the event with the Young Americans Foundation. The college has previously accused YAF of giving a misleading account of events that led administrators to reject the initial request for the school to host a Shapiro speech. On Thursday, YAF President Spencer Brown tweeted an agreement signed Wednesday by the organization and GCU to bring Shapiro to the campus. So a victory for freedom of speech in the Valley of the Sun, as Ben Shapiro will be coming to Grand Canyon University. That's particularly satisfying, given that last week here on the HoloNet, we called him out. We pointed out the stark hypocrisy of GCU, which is widely regarded as one of the most conservative colleges in the nation, the largest private Christian university in the United States, turning down Ben Shapiro, who upholds American exceptionalism based on the Judeo-Christian values which this nation was founded, which are the cornerstone of GCU's supposed values. Very, very glad to see that. Glad that GCU saw their way to doing the right thing. So on that note, I know a lot of people on the Lantern side of things, a lot of old HoloNet listeners maybe on Spotify are going, KLRN? Who the what? Check them out, klrnradio.com, based out of Oklahoma. Great team of patriots and freedom fighters. They reached out to me, I'm not kidding, 11 o'clock at night, just last week, and asked me, do I want to come on board as a syndicated show? And I said, absolutely. This is a great group of people, great group of Americans. A lot of shows that you may already be aware of. America Off the Rails, for example, is a long-time holdout, and I believe was previously carried on Lanterns as well for a little while there. But we are looking forward to the great things that we will accomplish with our colleagues over at KLRN Radio, but we are still based here on the Lanterns Media Network, and don't forget that. As always, you'll be able to find us on Spotify, iTunes, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, YouTube, BitChute, anywhere great podcasts are found. And, klrnradio.com is the tag there online. Make sure you check them out. They're also on the Twitters at KLRN News. And, actually, it's KLRN Radio. KLRN News, funny enough, is I think that's a PBS derivative. It's weird. So, now to Breitbart. Breitbart News. 325 migrants apprehended in a single group at the Arizona border. And yet we have people with the temerity to tell you that there is no state of emergency on the southwestern border of the United States. 325 migrants in one group. This on Breitbart. Link in the description by Bob Price, February 8th. Tucson Sector Border Patrol agents apprehended a group of 325 Central American migrants. Even for Breitbart, that's a little bit milquetoast, isn't it? Let's just call them, illegals. Illegal immigrants, after they illegally crossed into Arizona Thursday near Lukeville. Agents assigned to the Ajo station, not far from me, came upon a large group of immigrants who illegally crossed west of the Lukeville port of entry. According to Tucson Sector Border Patrol officials, the group consisted of 325 migrants from Central America. Remember how President Trump was lampooned for talking about the migrant caravans during the State of the Union? What caravans? Tweet from CBP Arizona, at CBP Arizona. A large group of 325 Central Americans were apprehended at CBP. USBP agents near Lukeville Thursday, where limited infrastructure is currently located, and smugglers continue to take advantage. Border Patrol camera surveillance of the area detected a possible campfire and dispatched a Customs and Border Protection Air and Marine Operations aircrew to the area. The aircrew spotted a group and directed ground-based Border Patrols to the scene. The area where the migrant group crossed is protected only by vehicle barriers. There is no physical barrier to pedestrian crossings in this part of the border that is being exploited by human smugglers and large migrant groups from Central America. You see, this is what President Trump talks about when he talks about what makes sense in different regions of the border. There are large swaths of the border that are only protected by vehicle barriers. Now, these vehicle barriers, if you've ever seen Saving Private Ryan, These look like the Dragon's Teeth fortifications, I believe they were called, where it looks like a star-shaped set of steel eye bars that are arranged a couple of feet apart in a line. They're designed to be a barrier only to vehicles, but to still allow pedestrians and wildlife to pass through. Now, in a more naive time, I believe these were chosen because of their lack of impact to the local indigenous species in the area. But times have changed. With 325 people coming across the border at Lukeville, this holds in stark relief the complete and total inadequacy of these measures on our southern border. Agents said the group consisted of 150 juveniles, and at least 32 traveled as unaccompanied alien children. The strategy appeared to work, as agents who would otherwise be patrolling the border were reassigned to provide security, care, and transportation to the 325 migrants. The agents utilized vans and trucks to transport the group 15 miles through very rough terrain to a staging area where buses could be utilized to take them the rest of the way for processing. Again, you can find this link online, but medical specialists were assigned to the Department of Homeland Security to provide initial medical screening and treatment. They found 2 juveniles in need of immediate medical care. We see it again. We see it again. One of those, a 5-year-old, reportedly has chickenpox, while the second, a 12-year-old, suffered a skin infection. Agents transported them to an area hospital for treatment. CBP officials stated, illicit transnational criminal organizations exploit the vulnerability of foreign nationals with false promises of legal status and encourage dangerous border crossings, placing lives at risk. So this is the same story, different day for people down here in Arizona, where very recently a young child actually perished. Actually, I believe that was in Texas. I'm going to have to double check. But perished in a local hospital. And as a result, the Border Patrol was put under increasing scrutiny and a lot of bad press. But when these people have been on foot or, going from poorly equipped vehicle to poorly equipped vehicle for days, sometimes weeks, and they finally cross the border, some of them are in need of dire medical attention. And to hold the Border Patrol responsible for what happened all the way up and what culminated only after these people were brought into custody is an unfair measure. Brought this up before, but our Border Patrol are some of the bravest men and women you will ever encounter. Some of the most caring, some of the most devoted to our country. Second only, I would say, to our military. So the idea that these people don't bring their hearts with them every day to do that job, it's horrific. There's a true humanitarian crisis happening 100 or so miles from where I sit right now. And it needs to be dealt with. This absolutely is, make no mistake, an ongoing, not just national emergency, but an international emergency. And should be dealt with accordingly. And if Congress refuses to act, as much as it pains me to say, because I despise executive orders, especially those that should fall under the purview of Congress, but the president must act. The national conscience demands it. So we're going to take a real quick break here. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about the Green New Deal. We go to a CNN story. Apparently Nancy Pelosi is even throwing shade at this, while simultaneously 2020 candidates, according to the Blaze, Democratic candidates, are lining up to endorse this document right here, the Green New Deal. That's here on the HoloNet podcast on the Lanterns Media Network, and now syndicated on KLRN Radio. You can find us on www.theholonet.com, theholonet.lanterns.buzz, facebook.com/holonet, and at the HoloNet on Twitter. We'll be right back.
I see people coming together not for divisiveness of party or for dichotomy of thought, but for unity in principle. In the principles that founded our nation, that all men are created equal and are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Today, ladies and gentlemen, those principles are under the sternest attack that we have seen in many generations. It has become a crime in this nation nearly to express a difference in opinion from what is held by your party to be doctrine, from what is purported by the media to be truth. We have an opportunity to reach out to our fellow Americans regardless of their creed and regardless of their political inclinations, and unite as Americans, not as Republicans or as Democrats, as liberals or conservatives, but to unite around the principles that have guided this nation so well. I've covered a lot of stories, but the story that remains untold is the story of America in the 21st century, when we choose to turn back the tide against progressive socialism, when we choose to embrace the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, and the Bill of Rights, when we remember what it is to be Americans. And that principle will not die as long as there is one man, one woman, one child who looks defiantly into the night and says, "I am free."
You're listening to the HoloNet podcast on the Lanterns Media Network. The new conservative resistance begins right here, right now.
Allied reinforcements have arrived from the west.
You're listening to the HoloNet on Lanterns Media Network. The millennial conservative resistance begins here.
Resolved! That is the sense of the House of Representatives that it is the duty of the federal government to create a Green New Deal, to achieve net zero greenhouse gas emissions through a fair and just transition for all communities and workers, to create millions of good, high-wage jobs and ensure prosperity and economic security for all people of the United States, to invest the infrastructure and industry of the United States to sustainably meet the challenges of the 21st century, to secure for all people of the United States for generations to come clean air and water, climate and community resiliency, healthy food, access to nature, and a sustainable environment, and to promote justice and equity by stopping current, preventing future, and repairing historic oppression of indigenous communities, communities of color, migrant communities, deindustrialized communities, depopulated rural communities, the poor, low-income workers, women, the elderly, the unhoused, people with disabilities, and youth, referred to in this resolution as frontline and vulnerable communities. The goals described in subparagraphs A through E, paragraph 1, referred to as the resolution for Green New Deal goals, shall be accomplished through a 10-year national mobilization, referred to in this resolution as the Green New Deal mobilization, that will require the following goals and projects. building resiliency against climate change-related disasters, such as extreme weather, including by leveraging funding and providing investments for community-defined projects and strategies. Repairing and upgrading the infrastructure of the United States, including by eliminating pollution and greenhouse gas emissions as much as technologically feasible, by guaranteeing universal access to clean water, by reducing the risks posed by flooding and other climate impacts, by ensuring that any infrastructure bill considered by Congress addresses climate change. Meeting 100% power demand in the United States through clean, renewable, zero-emission energy sources, including by dramatically expanding and upgrading existing renewable power sources and by deploying new capacity, building or upgrading to energy-efficient distributed and or smart power grids, and working to ensure affordable access to electricity. Upgrading all existing buildings in the United States, and building new buildings to achieve maximal energy efficiency, water efficiency, safety, affordability, comfort, and durability, including through electrification. Spurring massive growth in clean manufacturing in the United States and removing pollution and greenhouse gas emissions from manufacturing and industry as much as is technologically feasible, including by expanding renewable energy manufacturing and investing in existing manufacturing and industry. Working collaboratively with farmers and ranchers in the United States to eliminate pollution and greenhouse gas emissions from the agricultural sector as much as is technologically feasible, including by supporting family farming, by investing in sustainable farming and land use practices that increase soil health, and by building a more sustainable food system that ensures universal access to healthy food. Overhauling transportation systems in the United States to eliminate pollution and greenhouse gas emissions from the transportation sector as much as is technologically feasible, including through investment in zero-emission vehicle infrastructure and manufacturing, clean, affordable, and accessible public transportation, and high-speed rail. Mitigating and managing the long-term adverse health, economic, and other effects of pollution and climate change, including providing funding for community-defined projects and strategies. Removing greenhouse gases from the atmosphere and reducing pollution, including by restoring natural ecosystems through proven low-tech solutions that increase soil carbon storage, such as preservation and afforestation. Restoring and protecting threatened, endangered, and fragile ecosystems through locally appropriate and science-based projects that enhance biodiversity and support climate resiliency. Cleaning up existing hazardous waste and abandoned sites to promote economic development. Identifying other emissions and pollution sources and creating solutions to eliminate them. And promoting the international exchange of technology, expertise, products, funding, and services with the aim of making the United States the international leader on climate change action, and to help other countries achieve a Green New Deal. A Green New Deal must be developed through transparent and inclusive consultation, collaboration, and partnership with frontline and vulnerable communities, labor unions, worker cooperatives, civil society groups, academia, and businesses, and to achieve the Green New Deal goals and mobilization, a Green New Deal will require the following goals and projects. All right. Okay. Bear with me now. It actually gets worse the more you read it. Remember, I'm reading this so you don't have to. Okay. Providing and leveraging in a way that ensures that public receives appropriate ownership stakes and returns on investment. Adequate capital including through community grants, public banks, and other public financing, technical expertise, supporting policies and other forms of assistance to communities, organizations, federal, state, and local government agencies, and businesses working on the Green New Deal mobilization. Ensuring that the federal government takes into account the complete environmental and social costs and impacts of emission through existing laws, new policies and programs, and ensuring that frontline and vulnerable communities shall not be adversely affected. Providing resources, training, high-quality education, including higher education, to all people of the United States, with a focus on frontline and vulnerable communities, so those communities may be full and equal participants in the Green New Deal mobilization. Making public investments in research and development of new clean and renewable energy technologies and industries. Directing investments to spur economic development, deepen and diversify industry in local and regional economies, and build wealth and community ownership while prioritizing quality job creation and economic, social, and environmental benefits in frontline and vulnerable communities that may otherwise struggle with the transition away from greenhouse gas-intensive industries. Ensuring the use of democratic and participatory processes that are inclusive and led by frontline and vulnerable communities and workers to plan, implement, and administer the Green New Deal mobilization at the local level. Ensuring that the Green New Deal mobilization creates high-quality union jobs that pay prevailing wages, hires local workers, offers training and advancement opportunities, guarantees wage and benefit parity for workers affected by the transition, guaranteeing a job with a family-sustaining wage, adequate family medical leave, paid vacations, and retirement security to all people of the United States. Strengthening and protecting the right of all workers to organize, unionize, and collectively bargain, free of coercion, imitation, and harassment. Strengthening and enforcing labor, workplace, health and safety, anti-discrimination, and wage and hour standards across all employers, industries, and sectors. Entering, enacting, and enforcing trade rules, procurement standards, and border adjustments with strong labor and environmental protections to stop the transfer of jobs and pollutions overseas and to grow domestic manufacturing in the United States. Ensuring that public lands, waters, and oceans are protected and that eminent domain is not abused. Obtaining the free, prior, and informed consent of Indigenous people for all decisions that affect Indigenous people and their traditional territories, honoring all treaties and agreements with Indigenous peoples, and protecting and enforcing the sovereignty and land rights of Indigenous peoples. Ensuring a commercial environment where every business person is free from unfair competition and domination by domestic or international monopolies, and providing all people of the United States with high-quality health care, affordable, safe, and adequate housing, economic security, and access to clean water, clean air, healthy and affordable food, and nature. Whew! I'm going to have that in the comments section if I can do it. Linking down in the comments and in the description. But it kind of takes your breath away, doesn't it? This Green New Deal is basically the government taking care of you from cradle to grave. A guaranteed job. Helps when I drop my paper. A guaranteed job for every American. A guaranteed home for every American. Guaranteed access to nature, clean water, clean air, healthy and affordable food. This, ladies and gentlemen, is your recipe for Venezuela, for the Soviet Union, and every other socialist nightmare that has ever been. This is a fever dream. And this is why President Donald Trump will win a resounding victory in 2020. Please allow me to expound. We're going to discuss the Democratic presidential candidates who are endorsing the Green New Deal when we come right back.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
You're listening to the Lanterns Radio Network. We are the network dedicated to empowering the individual, illuminating the truth, defending American exceptionalism, and inspiring future generations. Stay connected and get involved at lanterns.buzz for great radio. Get commentary and news of the day. Lanterns.buzz.
Allied reinforcements have arrived from the west.
You're listening to the HoloNet on Lanterns Media Network. The millennial conservative resistance begins here.
Yes, thank you for hanging in there. The new millennial conservative resistance does indeed begin right here, right now with you. You're listening and hopefully watching the HoloNet podcast on the Lanterns Media Network, now also on KLRN Radio. Thank you for joining us. Now, last segment, I did spend the entire segment actually reading this piece of garbage, this Green New Deal resolution that I hold here in my hand. Also available in the links, you're going to have the FAQ that they tried to bury off of Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's website, where they come right out and say what I just read to you in much longer term. It guarantees to everyone a family with a job with family-sustaining wages, family and medical leave, vacations, and retirement security. High-quality education, including higher education and trade schools, high-quality health care, clean air and water, healthy food, safe and affordable and adequate housing, an economic environment free of monopolies, and economic security to all who are unable or unwilling to work. And don't forget the big explanation that they gave for frontline communities, which are, by the way, inclusive of migrant communities there. You think that wasn't subtle? You think that wasn't something they'd try to sneak in a little bit? Where they even talk about moving borders in order to solve for this? I'm going to refer you back to that. They actually discuss giving Congress the ability to juggle the borders of the United States in order to make this plan work. Being inclusive of and led by frontline and vulnerable communities. Here we are. Enforcing the territorial sovereignty of indigenous peoples, enacting and enforcing trade rules, procedure statements, and border adjustments. Border adjustments. So, if the congressmen and women who were enacting this Green New Deal and led by these frontline and vulnerable communities determined it best that the city of Tucson, or Mesilla as it was formerly known, should be returned to Mexico in order to best facilitate the Green New Deal. Would that be done under this rule? You bet it would. It says right there. Border adjustments. And I'm betting we're not talking about small ones. We're not deciding to, jog the border a quarter mile south of this rancher's property. No, that's something that was put in there very deliberately. Very directly. Now we go to CNN. The Point with Chris Cillizza. Nancy Pelosi threw some serious shade at Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's Green New Deal. Thursday was a big day for Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. The New York freshman Democrat, who has rapidly become one of the biggest stars in the party, will formally introduce her much-touted Green New Deal. Nancy Pelosi isn't at all impressed. When asked about the Green New Deal in an interview with Politico on Wednesday, she dropped this amazing bit of shade on it. Quote, "It will be one of several or maybe many suggestions that we receive. The Green Dream, or whatever they call it. Nobody knows what it is, but they're for it, right?" I mean, Pelosi knows exactly what she's doing here. Her utter dismissiveness of the Green New Deal, and by extension of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who's the member most closely identified with it, is entirely intentional. Pelosi knows that AOC is a rising national power, particularly among most activist liberal left, given Ocasio-Cortez's profile, and her influence among young liberal members. Pelosi knows she can't just ignore what the New York Democrat says and does, but she isn't going to kowtow to AOC either. No, Pelosi's not. But everybody running for president in 2020? Oh, they sure will. Oh, you bet your bottom dollar that they will. They've been falling all over each other. Kimberly Stossel, she tweeted out, "By the end of the Green New Deal resolution and accompanying fact sheet, I laughed so hard I nearly cried. If a bunch of GOPers plotted to forge a fake Democratic bill to show how bonkers the party is, they could not have done a better job. It's beautiful." I concur, Kimberly. So, Cory Booker boasted signing on to the resolution and sold it to an audience likening the initiative to America fighting against Nazi Germany in World War II. Senator Kamala Harris said she was proud to co-sponsor the plan and says we must aggressively tackle climate change which poses an existential threat to our nation. Senator Kirsten Hillebrand also proudly co-sponsored the resolution. She said it's ambitious, it's bold, and I'm co-sponsoring this resolution with AOC and Senator Markey because it's exactly the kind of action that it will take to conquer the biggest threat of our lifetime. Elizabeth Warren said, "If we want to live in a world with clean air and water, we have to take real action to combat climate change now. I'm proud to join Rep. AOC and Senator Markey on a Green New Deal resolution to fight for our planet and our kids' futures." Ladies and gentlemen, my dear friends, as the late McCain would say, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez may be the greatest thing that has ever happened to the Republican Party. This resolution, this Green New Deal, is the single largest gift you could give to the Trump administration because of its tacitly and provably disastrous ramifications, because of its stripping Americans and American businesses of freedom and individuality. This is the nanny state incarnate. This is the road to serfdom. of our time. And it's getting better and better. The State of the Union, President Trump made a very, very successful speech on Tuesday. Extremely successful speech on Tuesday. To the point where 82% of independents, middle ground voters, approved of the speech. Think about that. That is the most coveted group of people. And 82%. It's unheard of. Why? Because the Democratic Party, in the form of Senator Markey and Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, have officially jumped the shark. The Fonz is on the motorcycle, and he is sailing through the air. Anyone who seeks to run on the Democrat ticket has to jump on board now with two concepts that are lethal. 40-week abortion on demand, which we covered at great length on our last episode. Check it out. That was a harder one for me to do. And now, the Green New Deal, which is an abject descent into socialism. Now, anyone seeking to run for office convincingly on the Democratic ticket must embrace these two things. Clear socialism and abortion on demand at 40 weeks. A similar moment to this occurred in the early 1900s, following the presidencies of Woodrow Wilson. And also following, to a lesser extent, the presidency of Teddy Roosevelt. When the progressives pushed the country so far, so fast, that it caused the American people to recoil in disgust at the size and scope that government was taking, at the fact that a small group of men at that point were taking over their lives from Washington, D.C., that indeed it seemed their forefathers had traded one tyrant 3,000 miles away for 300 tyrants 1,000 miles away. It's exactly what Paul Harvey taught us in his great radio epic, If I Were the Devil. Under this Green New Deal, people will indeed be taught to pray, Our Father, that art in Washington. This is the pivotal moment when the Democratic Party loses all rationality to an unbiased observer. When an honest person who has not been completely bought or sold to either side, who is not a partisan, cannot help but to throw their hands up in disbelief that such an undertaking would even be discussed, let alone attempted, in the year 2019. Now, on the heels of this, we're seeing yet another of a baffling series of missteps for the National Popular Vote. According to azcentral.com, the National Popular Vote Interstate Compact is now going for round 2 in the Arizona House. And it appears that there's really a chance it could get through. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll line that up for next week's show.
Allied reinforcements have arrived from the west.
You're listening to the HoloNet on Lanterns Media Network. The millennial conservative resistance begins here.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, the new millennial conservative resistance does indeed begin right here, right now, with you. For those of us joining us from KLRN Radio for the first time this week, if you like what you're hearing, you can always hop on to Subscribe Star if you would like to support the HoloNet. We are seeking to make our move to terrestrial radio this year, and you can be a part of that as we expand and grow. That's www.subscribestar.com/the-holonet. That's subscribestar.com/the-holonet if you want to become a subscriber and support the new millennial conservative resistance, where we hold the line against the night here in the Grand Canyon State, in the red desert of Arizona, as President Trump said. Now, next week, we are going to be going into a bit more detail about the National Popular Vote Interstate Compact, which I have railed against at great length in my earlier days here in 2016, when I was writing for theblaze.com as a contributor. I addressed the Interstate Compact twice in 2 articles, the first being 22 states could render your vote moot. Actually, could render your vote... well, I'm going to have to post the title, because, I really, really sucked at writing headlines back then. The other one was... you don't vote for president, you weren't meant to either, an explanation of the Electoral College. But the National Popular Vote Interstate Compact is seeking to do an end run around the Electoral College and the constitutional process by binding the states that agree to it together to cast their Electoral College votes for whatever candidate gets 51% of the national popular vote. Now, what they need is they need to get up to 270 Electoral College votes signed on in order to make this effective. Recently, more states have signed on. Arizona has not yet, as in 2016, when this was raised to my attention initially. It was passed in the Arizona House, but it was shelved in the Arizona Senate. So 11 states, along with the District of Columbia, have signed the National Popular Vote Interstate Compact, Colorado being the latest, while we have been following and covering each new Democrat throwing their name in the DNC primary. They are now at 173 electoral votes. When the compact gets the necessary majority of 270, then the effect of the Electoral College becomes moot. The Constitution is not explicit in this matter, leaving it up to the states to decide. So I want to give a hat tip to our good friend and listener, Ron, who is right now doing some great work putting together a conservative cooperative. And thank you very much, Ron, for bringing that again to my attention. So the National Popular Vote Interstate Compact will be the subject of our discussion next week here on the HoloNet podcast on the Lanterns Media Network and KLRN Radio as well. If you want to do a little homework on that, I will provide links in the description to those 2 stories again. State legislatures could render 22 states silent. The AZ Central story is, will Arizona lawmakers again try to kill the Electoral College? And the other Blaze story, that was, you don't vote for president, and you weren't meant to either. So we have some issues coming up in 2019 before we get to that 2020 election. But I have a lot of hope today. I do believe that President Trump will defeat any Democratic challenger at this point because of the shark jump that is in progress. The headlong descent into socialism being piloted by Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, I'm certain directed from the sidelines by our old friend, Bernie Sanders. That coupled with a series of serious scandals striking the greater Democratic Party, Virginia being a particularly gruesome example of how quickly an administration can crumble. Keep your head on a swivel and keep your eyes open. Because the most dangerous an opponent is when their back is against a wall. You have to watch out when an animal's cornered. And right now, the walls are closing in around the Democratic National Committee. Who will they choose to lead them into the 2020 election? We can joke around, who's donating their body to that one? Who's lining up for that beatdown? But the truth of the matter is this. If you don't participate, if you don't get out, if you don't vote, if you're not active, then this can all go very, very badly. Look at Venezuela. Look at it. Look long and hard at how quickly a booming economy, a nation rich in national resources, lush in tourist destinations, can tumble into starvation, depravity, and the throes of self-destruction. Don't let our nation follow suit. Reject the Green New Deal. And reject the moral destruction of our nation through the embrace of a culture of death. On that happy note, this has been the HoloNet Podcast on the Lanterns Media Network and KLRN Radio for Sunday, the 11th of February in the year of our Lord 2019. From Phoenix, Arizona, I'm Matt Holloway. Good night. God bless you. And God bless the United States of America.